welcome to the second episode of African Businesses in China. My name is Heather, and today we have a special guest, Cyril from Ghana, and let him to introduce himself now.
Thanks for having me, Heather. My name is Charles Cyril Nettey. I'm originally from Ghana and have been living in China for the past 7 years. We run a business, an e-commerce business that allows different merchants all over the world to sell to China. It's not just African run, but it's globally run. Our team is made up of people from New Zealand, from Singapore, from Africa myself, and then other parts of Europe and the US. Outside of that, I work with a very passionate organization called ADIG, which stands for African Diaspora Innovation Group, and that has the sole focus of closing the circle on Africans that are in the Asian diaspora.
So you're a tech guy in your the companies that you're involved with. You're directly involved with coding and everything. Yeah.
Primarily coding. I think that is my passion at the moment.
Yeah. So what led you to find your passion?
It was a lengthy journey to finally settle on tech as like something that I really enjoyed. It originally started with my brother and sister, who were both sorts of tech savvy. My brother studied computer engineering whilst I was growing up. He was about 10 years older than I was. So whilst he was in university, I was still in like elementary school. My sister was a designer. She worked with other software, Photoshop, Illustrator, and that kind of like gave me a little bit of an appeal for design work. So it actually started out in design. I used to do graphic design projects for my high school just to make an extra buck. So that was where I originally started. And then I found myself in China studying computer science. And it was in my second year when I made the transition from design to full-on coding or software engineering. And then it's been smooth sailing since then.
Okay, cool. It's really cool that you find your passion. Like it's been a journey, but it started with your family influence, and later you find your own niche.
Yes.
So that's super cool. So you've been in China for 7 years already. Yeah, it's a long time. And before Shanghai, you were in Guangzhou.
I was in Guangzhou for 4 years. That's where I studied my undergrad at South China University of Technology. Yeah. I spent 4 years in south of Guangzhou, in Panyu, studying computer science. It was, I want to say it was a bit of a struggle in terms of being able to find a space where you can express yourself as a computer science student. The stigma or the idea behind coming to study in China at the time was to come do trade, come maybe teach English and make a quick buck and then go back home.
Right.
So there wasn't a lot of emphasis on education. And as a young person who was trying to find himself in the initial stages, I was kind of following the same trend. So going to a place called Ghanian, buying little trinkets to send back home to sell. But then I kind of had an epiphany, asking myself why I was doing this, why I was in China. And then in my second year, I kind of hit me that, hey, this could actually be something that you might be interested in. So then I kind of like threw all the trading stuff out the window, settled in with tech, and then learned hard and tried and practiced, built stuff. And then I finished my undergrad in Guangzhou. Then I moved to Suzhou, where I spent about a year mastering in applied informatics, so also like a type of computer science. And then from Suzhou, I was straight to Shanghai. I started working with this project unit.
Yeah, very cool. It feels like you really utilize the education resources and opportunities that you got, and then you joined a company that you're passionate about. So yeah, it sounds very inspiring, because a lot of people, when they don't really know what to do, they kind of just conform with whatever like everybody else is doing. So I feel like it's nice that you carved your own path.
Definitely.
Kind of, yeah.
I think that's it's quite common to find students from Ghana or other parts of West Africa, at least that's what I can say, that kind of follow the same trend. They come in, their first interaction with China or the world is the same thing, those that their predecessors like introduced them to, ushered them to. So you find young African students coming in to study medicine, to study international trade, by the end of their first semester, they're full-on businessmen, they're doing trade, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? It's good to always have a side hustle to
of course.
something. But I think that as someone who's young, who is thinking about a future career, it's important for you to identify the important things in your life and prioritize those which need more priority.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting so far.
Cool. So I guess that's kind of what led you to start the ADIG and also the Community of Africans in Tech.
That's right.
To kind of pass along the kind of inspirations to other African students in China.
That's right.
There are so many people pursuing education here. Yeah. So how's that going?
So I'll talk a little bit more about how it all came about.
Sure.
So I've always loved community. I've always loved the sense of being together with people that share the same interests as you.
Yeah.
And when I was doing graphic design and photography, I always tried to find these pockets of communities that did the same thing. So in Guangzhou, in SUT, you'd rarely find international students kind of like working with Chinese student bodies. Right? We had the international student body, but it was kind of like a closed unit.
Yeah.
Right. And in a place where there are maybe like 500 to 1,000 students, you rarely find a huge community of people that share your different interests. So back then in 2013, 2014, I went to the Chinese student body, asked around, found a photography club, and I joined. I was the first international student to be in the photography club in SUT, and I've always loved that sense of belonging and the community. So once I got into tech, it was only natural for me to look for the same thing. So in 2015-16, when I was deep into learning how to code and building programs, I looked for the same thing. I looked for a general community where I could get ideas from. So I actually met the founder of Shenzhen Startup Grind, Chance is his name, and we used to speak. I used to go for the meetups, and then we used to enjoy being in that community. The older I got, the more I started noticing the lack of Africans in this space in China, the lack of Ghanaians to begin with in that space. It was just me and maybe two other friends that were studying, that were actually actively pursuing tech So I wondered if there was anything more, if there was anyone else who was in this space.
Yeah.
So back in Guangzhou is where I started trying to get together different Africans that were into tech, into creative arts, and just try to have them, just spend some time together and just talk. So that's where the whole African community in tech, kind of started from. So in the end of 2017, at the beginning of 2017, we started the African Students Association in my university with the sole purpose of bridging the gap that the typical education system that couldn't provide, right? So it goes back to the original story of finding your way in an education system where you're not home. So we wanted to kind of bridge that gap, get people thinking beyond trade, beyond teaching English, and actually finding a space where they can apply themselves. So in 2017, we worked on the African Students Association. We had a few mentorship programs running. We had a few people, alumni, coming in to talk about their experience and their journey in entrepreneurship and technology in general. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I left Guangzhou after my graduation. But luckily, the people that continued it were still strong enough, and to this day it's still running, it's still innovating, it's still encouraging African students to do more with what they have. So that's where the origin story kind of started from.
Yeah, that's cool. So I guess you were able to kind of plug yourself into the ecosystem here in China, and also being part of a startup that bridged the gap between Chinese market to brands from all over the world. So you see there's a lot of potential for China to work with people from in different countries, and just from your own experience as well, you see there's a lot more opportunities for people to explore here.
I would definitely say that term opportunity has changed a lot over the years. Like I said, as a student that came into China for the first time in 2017 or 2013 or before that, your idea of opportunity was teaching English or doing trade. And it's been awesome to see the amount of diversity in opportunities that have been provided by China and by the international community in here as well. So it's really been like super awesome to see that I could be a software engineer in China. Before it was hardly heard of. There's just one or two people that
very rare.
Did different, that were into software, that were into photography, that were into or that were actually maybe working in the fields that they studied in. Right? The trend was come to China, study, make a quick buck, go back home. Right? But then over the years, I've seen.
We can cut that. No worries. Yeah.
I've seen the diversity and opportunities, and it's really been exciting.
Awesome. Cool. So what is next on your agenda? Like, what else do you hope to achieve in the next couple of years?
Right. So there are the two main loves of my life right now.
True loves of his life. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you need to back yourself a little bit.
The first is Yumi, which we talked about. It's an e-commerce brand, e-commerce marketplace in China that allows international brands or brands all over the world to sell in China. So with that, within the next few years, we're still solidifying our technology. We're still allowing for more and more brands to have the opportunity to sell in China. One of the blockers for this huge input of brands is the actual logistics of cross-border commerce, right? So if you look at the US, Europe, they have pretty good trade routes with China. So it's much easier for an entrepreneur to start something there and be able to have access to the Chinese market through Yumi. Right? It's not the same for all parts of the world. If you go to South America, if you go to even parts of Southeast Asia, and if you go to Ghana or other parts of Africa, it's a different case. So within the next few years, we're looking to do our bits to enable these other markets to have a piece of the Chinese market.
Cool, yeah, you all want to take a piece.
I mean, it's a win-win situation.
Right, yeah.
There's a lot of interesting, innovative products that come out of the continent, and it would be great if the Chinese audience could, get a bigger, piece of that as well.
For sure.
So that's the plan for Yumi.
Okay, cool. So ADIG, what's the next steps for it?
Yes. So ADIG, the thing about ADIG is, so what it is the African Diaspora Innovation Group. And that's a big sum of words.
Right.
But pretty much what we're trying to do is to close the circle for Africans that come to the Asian diaspora. So the focus is on the African diaspora, right? We so happen to be in Asia right now, so that's where the focus is. But hopefully we can expand it or connect with other diaspora groups around the world. So what it is a number of things. The first is to increase the innovative ability of Africans here. So education, awareness, just like to get people speaking, people talking about technology and innovation. So we have the African Developer Group, which is a group of African tech people, or people that are interested in technology and learning technology. So we're just getting them together, getting them to speak about tech and share their experiences, to inspire other Africans here, to inspire students and get them the knowledge they need to compete in a tech-driven world right now, right? So that's the African Developer Program. The other thing we're going to do is, or we're working on is a set of different conferences, right? There are going to be tech conferences, which are more in line with the developer program, and then there's going to be innovation programs. So it's more like to get people with different ideas, plug them back to communities that need those ideas, businesses that need those ideas back home in different regions, and have them, give them the ability to set up and hit the ground running. That being the key word. Because you find a lot of startup programs, you find a lot of competitions that give founders $1,000, $10,000 to get started, but you find that that money can easily be mismanaged. So if there's a way for them to get the education they need to be able to sustain their businesses, and also to give them the resources that they need to expand their businesses, they'll have a better chance of like succeeding. So that's what ADIG seeks to encompass. The motivation behind it is that there are a lot of African diaspora groups across the world, but there isn't much in Asia. There is a lot when it comes to entrepreneurship in general. When it comes to starting out businesses in general, there's a lot of it, but there seems to be less and less inclusiveness when it comes to the technology side of things, right?
Okay.
Specifically the actual skill of building products, managing products, and building software, right? That is where we are trying to like focus on the most. So next steps is we're going to have our conference at the end of this year, which is going to be the developer conference, right? So it's going to get a lot of like people that are into tech, people that are actively building software using different technologies, software engineers, and get them to teach, share their experiences, and motivate students and other Africans to get into the game.
Yeah, cool. Is that going to be in China?
It's going to be in China, yes, in China.
Okay, cool. So how do you feel like the tech scene in China can be better integrated with the Africans being here? Do you feel like developers could maybe work together? There could be like
100%.
hackathons? Yeah.
There should be lots of hackathons. That's the thing about tech. It knows no borders. Right? You have
you speak the same language with the coding.
Same sort of language.
It's the best way to bridge the gap.
Exactly. You have companies like Vue.js built by a Chinese native who lives in Canada, being used by millions of developers, being used by billions of people. Maybe not billions, but like a lot of people.
Billions. We have billions in China.
But yes, that's the point. That someone who is of Chinese origin, speaks just English, has a tool, speaks English and Chinese, has a tool that is being used by people that don't speak English, that people that don't speak the language, the natural language of the person, right? So definitely, there's always a room for collaboration. There are things that we can learn from
each other.
The Asian ecosystem. But there are definitely things that the Chinese and Asian system can learn from us.
Right.
And that's also one of the things that we want to put emphasis on. Right? China did something amazing, right? In Europe and the US, when it comes to fintech, there was the same like kind of progression from cash to cards and then something else. China said, hey, no, why not something different, right? In parts of Africa, there is the same kind of revolution happening with mobile money, with telecoms using their infrastructure for fintech rather than the traditional paces. So there are definitely different areas where we can share ideas from and learn from. So yes.
Okay, cool. That's wonderful. Awesome. So yeah, it's been a wonderful time chatting with you and learning about your vision as well. Yeah, so do you have any other words, like just some words that you would like to give the African developers who are watching this episode, or Chinese people who are interested in like exploring how to utilize technology in Africa? Do you have any words of encouragement?
Definitely. Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Especially for the students. It's very easy to get swayed, to get sidetracked, following money. I know it's important to earn a living, to hustle. It's important, but one thing that is more important is building sustenance, building something that you can be proud of, spending your time on today, tomorrow. So it's okay if it feels like you're not making enough today. I think our generation sometimes forgets that life is a journey and we want instant gratification. Take a step back, analyze yourself, take time for yourself, understand what's happening, and then see how best you can plug yourself into these situations to benefit from it. So the Chinese developers, there's not much I can say. You have the resources, the same as we do. Speak more, share more, and definitely go out of your comfort zone more.
To learn about other cultures and other markets and find ways to collaborate. Awesome, thank you so much. Yay. Cool, this is Sarah from Ghana. Okay.